sparring club is coming. November 14th, London. Mark your diary. See you there, you f***ing tart.
I wonder if this is Starbucks' version of the Christmas cup.
I think it is.
Hey?
I think it is.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
You do know I'm recording now. I'm going to keep that bit in.
That's good. I hope you have. I'll do it again if you want.
So people can hear Dominic Ingle.
Did I actually say, is this a Starbucks cup?
You did say that as well, yeah.
All right, so you've got all that bit then.
So I got that bit. I got Dominic Ingle singing. So they got to hear your voice without any, special sound effects.
Well, we've got the special sound effects of the gym. But we've got the natural acoustics.
They have indeed. Dom, we've teamed up for another 50+ episode of the Brutally Honest podcast, and we're sponsored on the podcast now by the Green Room Experience, where you'll be there on Saturday night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to meet and greet some fans and do some Q&A stuff. Hopefully answer questions that you've never answered before. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good event. It's always good to meet the fans in them boxes and watch the fight. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yep, and you'll obviously get to see firsthand how good the Green Room Experience guys are, levels above anybody else. And I will put their website link up in the comments to this video. And like I've said before, any type of VIP experience, whether it's football, horse racing, darts, you name it, anything, cricket, they're big on cricket. They do all the best VIP experiences. So Dom, before we talk about anything, obviously we're here to do the big breakdown for the fight of the weekend. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is somebody that that you met a while ago as well. I want to pass our condolences to Team Opetaia, one of their coaches, a big part of the team, Coach Keri, a lovely man. When I went to Australia in January for Jai's fight, he actually picked me up at the airport. A big fan of this podcast, big fan of the work we've done, and obviously he come up to you a while ago, didn't he? And spoke to you.
I think I was in Riyadh because he boxed on that bill, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
And it was interesting watching Jai Opetaia fight live, because I'd never seen him fight on screen. Good performance, and he's only a young kid. I could see a few mistakes and a lot of pluses, and I thought, well, he's going to be one for the future if he's handled right and he keeps himself composed and he lives the life. He's going to be a big star. And afterwards, as I was just sat there, he came up to me, Keri, and we started talking, and he introduced himself. He was on part of Opetaia's team, and we had a good chat about stuff from boxing and his background and Opetaia's background. It was interesting. We had about a good 15-20 minutes, and obviously he's a coach as well. And it's always good when you're meeting people and talking about how they train and what their experiences are. And I just said to him, we got talking about something. I just said, listen, coaching's more about experience than anything else. The longer you're in it, the more experience you have in different situations is what makes you a good coach. I said, look at Angelo Dundee. Angelo Dundee weren't a trainer. You know what I mean? He just watched people hit the bag and told them what to do. If you ever read his book, where he started, you'd have never thought he'd turn into a boxing trainer. So, but life experience in the gym, experience of dealing with fighters and the mentality, and getting them, psychologically right to go into a fight. So, there's a lot more to being a boxing trainer than just holding pads and shouting out shots.
Yeah, definitely. As you got to experience firsthand as well, a lovely bloke, and like I said, he will be missed. I was looking forward to seeing him in a few weeks as well. But yeah, I want to pass on my condolences to his family members and friends. I know a lot of people in Australia do watch this podcast, so yeah, pass on our thoughts to Coach Keri, one of a kind. In the boxing game, I saw that you put up this morning your bags. Anthony Joshua shared it as well. He shared it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I mean, I sent. We've been a bit of delay on him. He got the green bag. Sorry, he got the yellow bag, and then somebody sent me a video of Naz.
Shall I just say for context, because somebody might not know what we're talking about.
Okay.
The Ingle gym bags, people will have seen them over the years, the yellow, blue, red, the big green one in the corner. They're basically it's like punching bricks, really good for conditioning, etc. Bit of a cheat code or secret code that your dad did years ago. You brought it back to life. Anthony Joshua bought one of the legendary yellow ones a few weeks ago, and you've gone back and manufactured more bags from the same people that made them all them years ago, and they just bought them off you.
Yeah, he bought another 4 different colours, and they've just been shipped this morning, so brand new. Yeah, and I put it on my story last night, and he reshared it. I've had so many messages wanting to know how much they cost. Can they have one? Is there any left? But then somebody sent me a video of Naz on the bag, and it was just there. It was where that box roll bag is.
Yeah.
And we called it the Russian bag. It was a blue, red and white stripe or whatever. Naz is dancing around and flicking it. It's only a light bag. It's not one of the heavy ones, but it's the same make. And Naz, this bag had got a lot of spring in it. It was a special bag because it, like, you hit it and it was springing. It moved a lot, so Naz could get the slips in. And he's doing all his footwork. And at the side of that bag is the yellow one that AJ's got in the video. So that just shows you how far back it goes. I mean, that's got to be what. Say 90, that's 97, right there, around about there, 97, 98, could even be 96. So you see how far that goes back. We're talking, what, that's 30 years, I think. So yeah, they've been shipped off. AJ's got them at last. I've got a few more left. I've had people driving up I've had somebody from Wales, Derby, Leicester, I've had Scotland, one up in Scotland, came all the way down, and he drove all the way down in his van. I had an hour in the gym. I actually took him on the pads, I think, and gave him the bag, and off he went. So I'm just waiting for a video of him hung in his gym proudly, see if I get that video. But yeah, going really well.
Shall I put it out there, if anybody does come pick one up from the gym, they can get a free session with Dom?
Well, I don't know about that. It'd be worth more than bag, that.
Yeah. Definitely, Dom's prices are
extortionate.
Not extortion. It's like the green room experience. If you want to pay for that business class seat, that's, because Dom's obviously limited right
Most
now.
people can't. I do book. I mean, I don't do a lot of PTs, but the ones that I do, I just say to me, "You're capable for an hour." Some of them are, most of them aren't, and it's an experience because they realise then what you've actually got to be doing to get to a certain level in boxing.
Definitely, and I was just thinking, imagine the stories them bags could tell, like especially that yellow one. I bet it's seen, and if you could somehow talk to a bag, obviously it's impossible. But
well, that bag in the corner, that green one, that one will tell a story about when somebody came into the gym with a gun for Naz, and he ended up barricading himself in that dressing room. But that's another story for another day.
That sounds like.
So if that bag could talk,
bloody hell. There'll be a police witness. But yeah, with regards to Dom's extortionate prices, we're joking because there'll be people jumping on that saying Dom's ripping people off. So that was banter, if anybody didn't get that. So let's start off with the big fight this weekend, Dom. I was at the media grand arrivals yesterday. Got to speak to Benn, Nigel, and I got to speak to Chris as well. Got a bit of an input from both parties. And obviously the picture came out, a video came out of Chris to see how he looks, on Monday of fight week. Obviously you're an expert in body analysis. What do you think? A lot of people are saying he looks a lot better than he did in the previous fight week.
He looks much better, but don't forget we're not at the dry out phase yet, are we? We're on. That was yesterday, so that's Tuesday. He'll look totally different by the time it comes to Thursday. So by the time he comes to Thursday, by the time he comes to Friday, that's the picture that we need. We need the weighing picture, then we can do a comparison. But he still looks well there. He looks like he's done the weight right. He's got his abs through. It looks like he's carrying a bit of water, what can come off. So yeah, he will have adjusted from last time because he's made, people are saying he's made that weight several times. Yeah, he has. But the fact of what's changed is, the variable what's changed is he's got older. So people said, oh, he made this weight 5 years ago. Yeah, of course he did. And if everybody looks back what they were doing 5 years ago, health-wise or fitness-wise, are they the same as they were 5 years ago? Many people aren't. Chris is an athlete,
unless
but
unless you're Dominic Ingle, obviously.
Well, not me, but Chris is an athlete, so the aging process is less, but it's still going to affect him because you can't defy age no matter what. So that 5 years or 4 years or 3 years, or even to the last fight, which was 6 months ago, there is going to be, it's still going to be hard, and he's aged another 6 months. So, but looking at that photo, he looks quite well.
Another big thing Nigel showed me yesterday, I'll tell you what Eubank's response to it was, but Nigel showed me some figures from the big drama that was in the first fight, you know, regards to the Saturday, what do you call it now? When you got to make weight again Saturday morning.
Oh yeah, the check weight.
The check weight, yeah. So the check weight on Saturday morning. So the limit was £10. So Nigel showed me that Chris weighed 11.6 on fight day, on Friday. And then obviously the next day, the max he could have weighed was 12.4, if my maths is right. That's £10, isn't it?
No,
No?
12.6, so he's got to be 12.2.
Yeah, so, but he weighed £8 over. So he didn't basically take up the full advantage of the full £8.
Yeah, possibly.
The
but
full £10, should I say.
But you've got to, that's another factor that you do.
Nigel's argument was that he made such a big deal out about that £10 rehydration clause, but he only put on £8 the next day.
But that can come down to a lot of things, and obviously, first of all, of course, if you want something, you know, it would be better for him not to have the weight clause. So kick off about it. If that kicking off works and you get what you want, then good. But he had to make a bit of a show of it. But even if he's come £2 under, you'd be surprised how many athletes have their scales. I've done it with my fighters. I've got a set of scales, I've got 3 sets of scales, very accurate. By the time you weigh your scales with the board's official ones, there can be a discrepancy. Now, I always do that. We always find out where the fight scales are. We calibrate the scales between each other so we know the differences. They're never exactly the same, they're always different. Now, Chris Eubank might not have done that, his team might not have done that. They might have just said, these scales are accurate, we've measured them against the weight in the gym, we've put a thing on it, right. But it doesn't matter because it's what the board's got theirs calibrated at. And so that's why they could be £2 different. The other thing is when you've made the weight, sometimes you don't want to put all that water back on because realistically, it's your heart having to pump more fluid around. So you have to hydrate to a point where you'll do a test on a pea strip to make sure that you're hydrated, which is easy enough to do. You buy the strips from Boots. So you take electrolytes, you take water, it'll rehydrate over the period of time, like between the weigh-in and the next day. And he'll be he should be peeing on test strips to make sure his electrolyte balance is up. So it's not really about just the weight, it's about the electrolytes. It's like you've got to have the electrolytes in the water. That's what powers your body, that's what sends the signals. So many people just rehydrate on water or Coca-Cola because it's got a lot of sugar in it. You need electrolytes to make your muscles work properly. So he might have come under comfortably, but probably not on purpose, probably by accident.
Okay, so it's interesting because I did ask Chris about it, and he basically said, you know, he's making it up, or how does he even know that they were the numbers, etc. So obviously you, the IBF rules, I know you've done with Kel numerous times. Would the opposition know what you weighed in on Saturday? Yeah,
you have to do it together.
You have to, all right.
But the other thing is, if you were, I'm not saying if you were smart, what most people would do.
But there was no IBF title on the line, so I don't know how.
Well, if there was still a check weight the next day, then you either, when Kel did it with Khan, we had a representative from Dominic team come to Kel's room, and we had the scales set up. They brought their own scale. Oh no, we had some scales. We had some scales set up. They might have been. They were the official scales set up, I think. Yeah, they were. And he came in. This guy, I think he was the S&C fella. He was one with the beard on Domic's team.
The white beard, yeah.
And sorry?
He's got like a white beard.
No, he was a youngish kid. It's not white, I don't think.
Okay.
And he came in, and Kel looked at him like that because obviously he'd seen Kel from the Crawford fight, because the kid was a bit wide-eyed. And Kel stepped on the scales, and he was bang on, but he was slightly under. But we gave him water, so he was bang on, absolutely bang on the limit. Actually, it was about a pound under, but we watered him, put him some carbs. And the kid looked at him, just looked at himself, and Kel goes, I hope he's ready. And he looked a bit nervous, the S&C guy. Then as he walked out of the hotel room with my nephew Luca, he turned to Luca and went, man, he didn't look like that against Crawford. And Luca just laughed, because obviously he was in absolutely terrific shape for Amir Khan. So if I'd have had a fighter who could have a £10 allowance, and he was £2 under, I would make sure that I was hydrating him up. but only when I've calibrated between the weights, because there was a fine on that, weren't there?
There was, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say if he was a pound over, how much was the fine going to cost him?
$500,000.
Right. So you're better off coming under £2 under. I don't know if that was for the main ticking or for the...
I think there was another fine if he wasn't, if he
so
did that, yeah.
just to be sure, you know, yeah, well, that's maybe a factor, but you would have calibrated and checked. That's what I'd have done.
Interesting. And then Chris announced yesterday, I don't know if you've seen the video, he announced to his dad that he's going to be a dad. Did you see that?
Well, he should have announced to his dad that he's going to be a granddad.
Yeah, well, that's what he did do.
Did
yeah,
he?
But, yeah,
You're going to be a granddad?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it was a beautiful moment, and his dad just went down and started, dropping some lines, Rastafari, etc. But he's having twins. He's having twins, he's having 2 boys, and he was quite happy about that. I did speak to him about that. I just want to ask you, you must have had guys in the gym that just find out that they're going to be dads before a big fight. Does it change anything?
I've had people in this gym, I've had Kel in this gym, it's in the bag, and his missus is in the hospital going into labour, and he's doing his training session waiting for a phone call, and I had to nip out. I've also been in that position where I've been in I think might have been before Kel booked Saldivia, and I was in the room, the missus is there, getting ready to give birth, and she's watching the news, and the midwife's there, and an interview comes on local TV, and it's me, and the nurse is looking at the screen and looking at me and thinking, how could they be in the same place? She didn't click on. She went, is that you? I went, oh, it looks like me, doesn't it? So the number of times when we've had, Ryan Rhodes was another one, when he had kids young, in the gym, Mrs. gone into labour. So yeah, it's happened a lot. It's not at the point when they came in and just found out that the wife's pregnant. Do you know what I mean? It's never been one of them.
Does it affect the mindset or anything? For a big
Everybody's
fight?
different. I honestly think that when Johnny Nelson had kids, his mindset got stronger because he realised it just wasn't about him. He had to keep himself alive because he got kids and he had to provide. And for some other people, it makes them more vulnerable. That they think, if something happens to me, who's going to look after my kids? So it affects different people differently. Never affected Naz, in my opinion, never affected Kel. And I always remember saying to Kel, we were in a fight once, coming up to a fight, and he went, if I'm in a fight and it starts getting tough, he goes, don't ever say to me, you need to do this for your kids or your missus. I went, I never say that anyway. You do it for you. He goes, because when I get in that ring, he goes, there's just me, there's nobody, I ain't got anybody. I can't have thoughts outside of the ring. It's just like, this is the job I've got to be done. I ain't got kids, I'm not married. I ain't got a mum and dad. This is what I've got to do. And then I get out and it switches over again. So that's the kind of mindset you've got to have. I think we talked about that before, that you've got to have kind of like a,
selfish?
Yeah, you've got to have a selfish attitude, and you've got to have a bit of a psychopathic trait, I suppose, to be able to switch on and off without any emotion. So yeah, it affects everybody differently. I don't think it'll affect Eubank Jr. at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's quite a fascinating insight you gave into that. And I did also ask him, because he does keep his private life private. Everyone talked about him having kids, but no one even wondered, who's the mum? So I did ask him, you're quite a private guy, but from what I know of him, he comes across as a very, a person that makes calculated decisions. So him to choose his baby mum would have been quite a big life decision, I'm assuming, from what I know of him. And I did ask him what qualities he looked for in that woman. And to be fair, he basically went, I'm not going to answer that question. And he basically explained that he likes to keep his private life private because he's seen with his own example, with his own father, they split up. I don't know if because I wasn't born then probably, but where in your time when his mum and dad split up, was it a big story? Because he talked about that, saying that he didn't like the after effects of that as a young kid, seeing his mum and dad's divorce.
Well, they did the Louis Theroux at home with the Eubanks, and I've met Chris's mum, Karen. She's a lovely woman, and my first reaction was that why would she marry Chris Eubank? And so it was very public, when they were kids, and everybody was intrigued by it all. And it's funny because somebody told me a story about Chris Eubank, one of my clients, and he said one day he pulled up in his HGV in Sloane Street in London to go to his tailor's. He says he blocked Holt Road off, it blocked all the roads up behind it for hours. The police were called, everybody came out of their offices. he says, to see what we're going off all this commotion. He says, please, went into Taylor's, had a word with Chris, he come out, and when he realised there were a crowd, he stopped, composed himself, put his monocle in, got his cane, walked out, looked at everybody, walked around the HGV inspecting it all, and everybody's clapping and cheering and everything. He just took his time. Police were laughing, he jumped in his lorry and drove off, and he must have caused like a commotion for 2 hours. And that's the type of character, that's why people loved him, because he didn't care, did he? So their life as kids was very much on show. And that can go two ways. You can either crave that yourself or kind of shy away from it. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. has looked at the negatives of it all and thought, no, I don't want that. Better off keeping it all under wraps. And I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I did also highlight the fact that, you know, when his brother died, he promised, he put some tweet out saying that he will be the father figure to his nephew. And to be fair to him, he has kind of fulfilled that role from what I've seen. And he said that his 2 sons that are due to be born, Raheem, who's the nephew, will be the older brother to them. So that was quite a nice sentiment. And then the other aspect of this, ultimately the fight itself, obviously we've got Conor, he's really composed this time around. You know, like by his own admission, he was too aggressive in the build-up, the press conference, and obviously on the fight as well. So he appears like he's going to be a bit more calm and collected this time. Whether that transfers into the ring, I don't know. You could probably tell me that. What can he do different to beat Chris Eubank Jr.? Before we drop the prediction, what do you think he can do different from the first fight to make sure or guarantee he wins?
What can he do? Well,
stumbled on that one, haven't you?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, derogatory things I could say really, but I'm not going to say it. Basically, what he always needed to do was be a better boxer, and to be able to go from that style that he's had, which is like his dad's style, a bit of a brawler, a bit of a puncher. On top of you, and I was in the gym this morning training in the weights gym where I train, and the fight, obviously the building up, and the fight came on the screen, and it was them two, and I just looked up, and they like kind of stood toe to toe, slugging it out with each other and pushing each other into the ropes. It just looked like a bit of a brawl, and it just shows in that fight that, you know, Eubanks can box, and when it's needed, he can stand toe to toe. I've seen him doing it with Cole Froch. I've seen him stood in the ring with Cole Froch in the IAS, toe-to-toe, bar head guard on both of them, knocking lumps off each other, not moving from the spot for 3 minutes. So he can do that as well. But it's very difficult when you're kind of like a brawler fighter, come forward fighter, to step back and box. It takes a lot of discipline and composure and patience. And Chris Eubank can do that, and he can have a brawl if he wants to. I think he'd rather box, so he's got both in his arsenal, where I don't think Conor Benn has, and that's something he'd need to learn. So I think the fight's going to go the same way. I think Conor Benn, he did everything he could in the first fight. I think that was the best we saw of him. There are probably little adjustments he can make. I don't know what they are. Only he would know that from being in the ring, you know, with Eubank. Maybe he starts a bit, you know, he pressures him a bit more, really tries to make him fade. Because Eubank is older, he is bigger at the weight. Conor Benn has got the luxury of he won't be struggling whatsoever to make the weight. So the only way I could really see the decision changing is that Chris Eubank kind of faults in the fight, that he kind of runs out of energy, or he gets caught with something, he gets cut, and it kind of that's probably the thing that Conor Benn would probably have to do, something like break his nose or give him a bad cut, do something what's damaged him, to where he's going to have to be more cautious. I think that'd be the intention. I don't mean sticking the knot on him, but, you know, cause somebody damage in that sense. You know, whether he break somebody's jaw, break the nose, cut their eyes, so they've got another concern instead of just beating the man in front of you. I think that'd be the way. We
saw in round 9 and 10 of the first fight where Chris said that he had to dig deep, and he found that inner strength where he was like, I ain't gonna lose. He threw all the tactics at the bin.
That's probably the round to watch.
It's toe to toe. So here's a question for you: in the first fight, that was probably easier to do because he did not want to lose to a Benn. But now that he's got the win already, could that change his mindset or make him more comfortable? Where in the second fight, if that moment comes, he may not find that moment.
No, because it wasn't particularly a comfortable win by his own admission, was it? So he got to 9 and he had to dig deep. So he'd be a fool, and I don't think he'd make that mistake of thinking, well, I've already beat him, I know the way to beat him. He beat him, being a better boxer, more determination, and thinking I'm not going to get beat by him. And that incentive will always be there to do that. So I don't think his mindset's going to change. He'll actually be more wary, thinking, I have to pace myself better. I have to conserve energy into the later rounds. That's where round 9, there's another 4 rounds left. And most fighters, you'll find, can go for 8 or 9 rounds at full pelt. Manny Pacquiao used to do it for 12. You watch Josh Warrington, he could do it for 10, 12 rounds. Then as he got older and getting beat, he'd be able to manage it for 6 and 8, and then he'd start to fade. That engine kind of leaves people sometimes. So, you know, Eubank will be thinking, well, at round 9, I've got to be in a place where I've still got energy. And you can adjust your training to that, you know, your stamina, different things. You can conserve more shots. He can score more shots without getting into a fight. Build up an early lead in the rounds, you know, in the early rounds, box the way through the first 6 rounds, get him all under his belt, and then, you know, in the last half of the fight, that's where he's got to be careful and just, you know, do what he's got to do, and he'll have energy then.
So Johnny Nelson's prediction was that he thinks Conor Benn wins.
Did you think that last time though?
He did 3 days ago when I spoke to him, and he based that prediction on, he reckons Chris can only get worse at this point because of his age, and Conor can only get better. So he based it on that assumption. So over to you.
Well, what I'd say is that I don't think Conor can get better, because he had a perfect camp last time. I think with his performance showed that he'd had a good camp. There was nothing in his performance to suggest that he'd had any issues. He hadn't trained well, and he had trained hard. I watched a lot of his stuff. So I think that was the best version of Conor Benn. And Johnny's right, Chris Eubank can only get worse, but he can't. I don't think he can get any better. He can be the same, or he can be slightly worse. But I think he'll be the same.
And what will happen?
I think he'll beat him on points.
Okay, no, he's adamant that he stops him.
Oh,
Eubank.
Well, if he goes for the stoppage, that's in his mind, and if he's got a feel for that. But then again, you don't know if he's putting that idea into Benn's head that he's going to have a tear up with him, which is going to suit Benn, and is going for the knockout and kind of make Benn a little bit more wary, and never have that intention at all. A great example: Joe Calzaghe boxed Kessler in Cardiff years and years ago. Kessler, good fighter. I think he beat Cole Froch, and he came to fight Calzaghe, and I went. There was 80,000 people, and the first couple of rounds it was a bit of a tear up, and Kessler was he was a good fighter, and he was even for 3 or 4 rounds, and Calzaghe dragged him into fight mode, Kessler, and once Kessler got into fight mode, Calzaghe stepped off and completely boxed his head off for 8 rounds. And Kessler was still chasing the fight, still chasing to have a fight, but it was too late. Calzaghe switched him into fight mode, stepped out and boxed his head off, and Kessler didn't adjust. And it was I'm not saying it was an easy fight for Calzaghe, but it was a very, very clever performance, how he had his game plan. And that could be the same for Eubank. He could be putting out all these misdirections just to, you know, see how Conor Benn responds. But if he's smart, Eubank, he'll conserve energy in the first 6 rounds, just scoring, moving, scoring, frustrating Benn, making him miss, beating him by 2 or 3 shots in the round. And then, obviously, Benn will get a bit tired a bit later, and when it comes on then, just take control of the fight from around about 7 rounds onwards.
Right, Dominic Ingle has had his say, so yeah, let's see what happens on Saturday night. So yeah, looking forward to it, Dom. We'll see you in the green room on Saturday, and any final words before I let you go?
No, it'll be interesting. Tottenham's ground, innit? I'm going to be down there.
Been there before?
No, I've never been. Oh, have I been? No, I haven't been. I've been to QPR when Pedroza boxed Barry McGuigan. What other football event have I been? I've been to Wembley for boxing.
Tottenham, they say, has got the best VIP experience.
Yeah, that's what somebody told me. So their hospitality that is second to none.
Heated seats, apparently.
Not that it matters to me. I cold plunge every morning, so I don't need heat.
All right, so just to make sure Dom's seat does not have the heating on.
That's it, turn it off. In fact, I won't want a heated seat.
All right, okay. But yeah, thank you very much, Dom. Let's see what happens at Saturday. We'll obviously have a debrief, hopefully Sunday, Monday, and see what the outcome is on the boxing. Thank you very much.
Sparring club is coming. November 14th, London. Mark your diary. See you there, you f***ing tart.